Syncromystic geography, the art of finding meaningful coincidence in the seemingly random shapes and names of Earth's geography with mystical or esoteric significance. Organic archetypes inform architecture principles as analogy and homology. The former is grounded on the harmony of function and the latter based on the concordance of structure. Like echoes, the analogy of archetypes creates different repetitions, a resemblance that evokes the specific traits of family, culture, or myth. It also shows the primordial and universal logic behind all living forms. The logic of analogy comes from a force which is simultaneously logical and psychological. It creates order and equilibrium. Nature manifests through symmetry, analogy, homology, dichotomy, and ramification, expressed via mimicry and metaphor. The dynamic growth of nature is expressed by breaking symmetry, governed by psychological force and expressed in shape, scale, direction, and weight proportion. But where do these shapes and names, this information actually come from? The geography of the Earth is represented primarily through images. Maps and photographs have for some time been considered neutral pieces of information. It is expected to connect photographic maps to reality because of the strong association between aerial imagery and absolute space. However, this point of view comes from a misunderstanding, the idea that space can be seen as a mere container rather than something culturally shaped. Space is not a pre-existing void endowed with formal properties alone. To criticize and reject absolute space is simply to refuse a particular representation. Thus, geographical information systems like Google Earth, which supposedly are an evolution of traditional maps, should be interpreted as producers of unstable signifiers that are heavily subjected to cultural influences of the esoteric and the occult, and not as objective spatial visualization platforms. The Greek word for to bring forth or to produce is tekto. The word techne, technique, belongs to the verb's root, tech. To the Greeks, techne means neither art nor handicraft, but rather, to make something appear within what is present as this or that, in this way or that way. The Greeks conceive of techne producing in terms of letting appear. Techne, thus conceived, has been concealed in the tectonics of architecture since ancient times. The architecture of geography, the architecture of a computer program. The erecting and building of things would not be suitably defined even if we were to think of it in the sense of the original Greek techne as solely a letting appear which brings something made as something present among the things that are already present. Maps must be reinterpreted as structures of power, structures of thought forms. Previously they have distributed authority between different individuals or groups of people, but now are products of the binary egregore. Therefore maps are a kind of language here, digital binary code used to mediate a particular view of the world. More important still is what they tell us at a second glance, what is actually being mapped behind their most external layer. The mechanical aspects of modern cartography have surpassed the craft of map making. The practical consequences of any cultural background encrusted on these new artifacts slowly began to be masked, pre-processed, selected, data mined, georeferenced, edited and merged, a range of steps operated by codes, algorithms, filters, human and non-human labor. Also an immense but unnoted IT structure is needed to extract the spectral information of this imagery. Satellite sensors perceive a far wider range of the electromagnetic spectrum than the human eye, which can only see a small fraction of it. So technically speaking, these images are not even photos in a normal sense. They are a combination of digital bits that have been subjected to intense modification to form figures. Google Earth determines what is worth looking at and what we have the right to observe, building a grammar or a set of rules for seeing. What is found in life and nature is not what is really there, but is that which artists have taught people to find there through art. In conclusion, geometrical organic form as a whole should be related to its natural surroundings and to man. The horizontal direction has been used to stand for the influence by the growth on Earth, and the vertical for man's response to his own needs in relation to nature. Form transformation depends on the magnitude of forces as well as human cognition set in a temporal sequence, all of this being lastly processed through the binary egregore thought form.